Good morning. Welcome into Fantasy Football Live. I'm Amanda Borges, and unfortunately for everyone, Halloween is over.
Oh.
I know, it's very sad. So that means everyone's back to being themselves.
Yeah, we missed
We were actually wearing clothes this week.
I could have gone. I thought about going jorts. I should have.
You should have.
Andy Behrens, Brad Evans, Tank Williams. Good morning, everyone.
Hola.
Thank you for wearing clothes this morning. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're aimed to please.
Not everyone does.
Yeah.
We set low bars here.
Yeah.
We managed to clear them.
All right, well, down in LA, as always, our friends Liz Loza and Matt Harmon are handling everything social for us. Guys, anything fun going on that we should know about?
Anything fun?
I mean, there's a football game going on right now.
It's not very fun.
That's fun.
Yeah, you know what I learned from the broadcast? That apparently Bill O'Brien and Doug Marrone are like best friends, which I had no idea this was a thing.
I can see that. I can see that.
Well,
Can't you see
big
the
old
two of
boys.
them like going through their kids' Halloween candy the day after, popping some fun-sized Snickers? It's fat season, baby. Let's do it.
So you learn something new every day.
Well,
Is that what you were looking for, Amanda?
Yeah, absolutely. You delivered. Thank you very much. Last but not least, our resident DJ who spins his original tracks throughout the entire show, Bebop Rocksteady, is in the house.
Another wonderful Sunday, and my 49ers are still undefeated, so I'm feeling really good.
Oh,
Yeah.
feeling great, feeling good.
All right, Bebop, we got you.
Finished.
All right, let's get to who's playing and who's not today as the active and inactive lists begin to be announced. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes will miss today's game against the Vikings, but he is expected to return in Week 10. Colts wideout T.Y. Hilton, however, is inactive today and could be out multiple weeks with a calf injury. In that same game, the Steelers will be without James Conner due to a shoulder injury, and Vikings wideout Adam Thielen is going to give it a go despite being limited in practice this week with a hamstring injury. Now, as we mentioned, we do have some game action happening right now across the pond in London. Not the most exciting things happening today.
Under.
What happened?
I don't know. Look,
Oh.
this is the
Jaguars
problem
haven't
with
scored.
London. It's a vortex. It's a Bermuda Triangle for fantasy purposes, and it's playing out once again. 12-3? Come on.
Like Derek Carr can throw against this defense, but Minshew can't.
Strange things occur in
And
London.
Minshew getting it done on the ground today.
Yeah, he is.
Did you guys jinx him when you dressed up as him last week? Because we've got to get things going.
Yeah, he needs to fire up that chest hair.
All right, well, we'll see. We'll keep you updated throughout the show. Now, remember, this show is all about you, so get your roster questions answered on Twitter at Yahoo Fantasy, and make sure you use that hashtag AskFFL, or you can call into the show. The number is 877-FFL-GURU. It's time now to select our Fantasy Terminators of the Week, presented by Terminator Dark Fate, which is in theaters now. Now, these are players who are under 25% started this week, but they are destined to take down the competition with a big performance. So, Brad, you're up first.
Yes, and I've got a sexy running back who is definitely going to drive nails in the coffin of your opponents if you play him, and that particular individual is... I'm waiting for the picture to show up because I love the Terminator portion of this. There it is. There he is. And he is going to be a fantasy robot of sorts. A guy, a delightful matchup. You look at Washington, 8th most fantasy points allowed to the running back position, over 4 yards per carry, over 160 total yards per game, 7 total touchdowns. He outsnapped the ancient one, Frank Gore, 42-18 last week. And if that trend continues, I think you're going to see that transfer into more volume overall. This could be a 13, 14 touch kind of game for him, as Singletary has racked up 3.10 yak per attempt. So assuming he hits double digits in terms of overall volume, I think there's an excellent shot here for at least 60 combined yards and a touchdown with 4 teams on bye. More than flexy sexy is Mr. Singletary.
Andy, who's your guy?
Oh, I'm going to take Sam Darnold, a quarterback who's thrown 7 interceptions over his last 2 games. What could go wrong with this call? He's facing Miami. Look, that's the thing. Miami has allowed 8.9 yards per attempt so far this season. The second most passing yards allowed in the league. Darnold's schedule is about to open up in a crazy way. It's not just this matchup against Miami. It's then the Giants, then Washington, then Oakland, Cincinnati, Miami again. He is about to binge, and it starts here. I'm looking at least 280 yards and 2 scores.
All right. Thank you very much. Tank?
Well, nothing makes you feel uncomfortable like playing someone that started less than 25% of the time. And so nothing makes you feel uncomfortable like eating a chorizo burrito and sitting in the front pew at church and getting the bubble guts while the church is like in the middle of a prayer. And that's what it's like when you play Mitchell Trubisky in your lineup. Now Mitchell Trubisky is going against the Eagles defense that's given up the 5th most pass yards and 6th in pass touchdowns. But we're talking about Mitch Trubisky, a guy who shouldn't have been drafted above Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, who's putting his head coach and GM's jobs in jeopardy every time he steps on the field. But if you can't do it against the Eagles, I don't know who in the hell you can do it against. So, Mitchell, save yourself, dog, or everybody's going down with the Mitch.
This is called Fantasy Terminators, not Fantasy Terminated.
Yeah.
Trubisky? Are you all right, man? You got a fever? What's going on?
We're going to take some time for Tank. Thank you very much, guys.
Wow.
Be sure to catch Terminator Dark Fate in theaters now and keep up with all the latest from the movie by following @Terminator on social media. And speaking of social media, let's get a look at our channels. We'll see what sort of problems you guys are having. Liz and Matt are standing by, ready to help, thankfully. Hey, guys.
Yeah, it's week 9, so the people have a lot of problems.
You standing by? I'm standing by. I'm ready.
I am ready to answer fiery, hot questions.
Excellent.
I'm on fire. Let's go with David Montgomery or Mark Ingram. Aaron Fields wants to know, #FFL. This is a standard league, by the way.
So I get it. David Montgomery, Tank is absolutely right about Mitch Trubisky. That fool gives everyone the bubble guts. And finally, Matt Nagy has had enough blowouts, and not the good kind, that he was like, all right, we'll feed David Montgomery. We cannot take any more of this Trubisky experience. However, the Philadelphia run defense, real good.
Very good.
David Montgomery, hard to trust, because Nagy, hard to trust. Maybe he takes some Tums and he was like, you know what, I'm good. We're going to give the ball to Mitch Trubisky and try to take care of that pass defense that Tank also talked about in Philadelphia. I'm going to go with Mark Ingram. I understand the matchup is tough, but this is the reliable player who we know gets work in the passing game and has a quarterback who is mobile and a nicer ceiling. So give me the more reliable player with the higher ceiling.
I think I agree with you. It's the better offense, too. Baltimore, much better than Chicago. And also, I just expect this to be one of the better fantasy games. Obviously, the Patriots defense is great, but there's so much to get excited about on both sides of the ball from the offense.
And we're going to talk a lot about the Sunday night game, things we do care about, things we don't care about. But right now, we do care that you are going to start Mark Ingram over David Montgomery.
Let's ride. Next question comes in from PMS Network. How interesting.
I'm familiar with the first 3 letters of that network.
Indeed. So asked FFL, Tom Brady or Lamar Jackson tonight? They need the highest ceiling, so they're leaning Lamar Jackson. I think that's the way to go, and I expect we will talk about this throughout the program.
Yeah.
But rushing quarterbacks versus man coverage heavy defenses, that usually favors that rushing quarterback because the defense has to turn the back to you, yada yada. We'll talk about that more later. But the point here is, I think if you're looking for ceiling especially, even against the Patriots defense, it's Lamar Jackson.
Yep. Lamar Jackson, we're going to talk. Here's a spoiler. We talk about Lamar Jackson's rushing yards in over-under this week, so we'll get to more there. But to answer your question shortly, go with Lamar over Tom Brady for week 9.
We are going to be hitting our chat room plenty throughout our next social segments, but I just want to touch on one thing real quick that Craig from Facebook says. How about N'Keal Harry potentially making his debut this week? I think that's something to watch. I wouldn't be starting him in fantasy, but...
I mean, I think it's something to watch if you're a Patriots fan and you see the rookie that they drafted higher above Jacoby Myers finally get on the field. Like, that's exciting, but I'm not messing with him in fantasy.
But keep paying attention to our chat room. Use those emojis. Send in your best questions. Send in some just good hot takes you have this week, because I'm sick of answering all the questions. We want to hear your opinions more than anything. So send them in and we will jump into them later on in the show.
Thank you, guys. Now, as Liz and Matt said, this is a game, we're going to get into our first quick slant now. This is a game that we'll talk plenty about throughout the show. The Patriots and the Ravens, they square off tonight in a game where the top defense in the league will square off against a Lamar Jackson-led offense that's off to their best start since 2014. So let's put 90 seconds on the clock. What are we most intrigued by in this one? But let's go outside of Lamar Jackson, because we're going to talk about him later.
Well, we are, but I'm definitely taking the over on rushing yards with Lamar Jackson in this game. I just want to put that out there. It's
Spoiler
16.5 in most places, but it is a spoiler alert. You know, we talked about Mark Ingram. Let's focus, though, on the New England side of the ball, Barons. Any inkling, any desire to play Sony Michele against this Ravens front that's given up 8 rushing touchdowns? He's one of those guys every week people are trying to juggle in their own mind. Do I start him? Do I sit him? What do you do?
Right, the Ravens are the #3 rushing defense in the league. Like, this is a pretty good rushing defense. The Ravens probably, because New England has been so dominant defensively, we don't give them enough attention for what they've done as a defense. Only allowed 7 passing touchdowns on the year. Again, #3 against the run. I'm not loving Sony Michele here. I don't think we're going to see some sort of crazy high-scoring game in this one. Great defensive test on both sides, but no, I'm not that intrigued by Sony Michele. I've been mostly disappointed.
64 yards and a touchdown, so I'm fearlessly forecasting. He's got 30 red zone attempts, so good shot of tripping and falling into the end zone. Tank, what about Phillip Dorsett? Another guy that seems to be getting some consistent TD run here of late. Big play receiver for Tom Brady. You have no Josh Gordon anymore. He's now with the Seattle Seahawks. But you can also throw on Baltimore. They're giving up 275 pass yards per game.
Yeah, I mean, we see that the defense is a little bit improved, especially on the back end. Now that they have Marcus Peters. But, I mean, people were able to expose that secondary from the get-go this year. And so now you have Julian Edelman, who's still going to be held in the slot, and you have Phillip Dorsett. Mohamed Sanu's going to get worked in there. I feel better about Dorsett than Sanu, but obviously Tom Brady, $31 in DFS. If you want to throw in the contrarian play that a lot of people won't be on, how many boys you got?
That's a firm no for me on Tom Brady.
Why do you think I said contrarian play?
You did say contrarian. I like Ryan Fitzpatrick more as a contrarian play if you're going to go down that route. But
under the radar in this game, too, N'Keal Harry is back from IR, so he's going to be thrown into the mix.
We'll see how many snaps he plays.
Yeah, exactly, but keep an eye on that. Not everyone can play up to expectation, so we're diving into players who are more than 50% owned in Yahoo leagues, but our experts don't think they'll play very well today. This is what we like to call off their game. The crew in LA has this one covered, so who are your picks this week, guys?
Well, since I was so off my game in the last segment talking about highery takes or whatever, that's very interesting. I'll start this one off. Off their game this week for me is Zach Ertz, and Ertz has been kind of a disappointing pick this entire year, but really I'm getting more and more worried the last few weeks as Dallas Goedert has really started to emerge as a big part of the offense. He has 17 targets to Ertz's 19 over the last 3 weeks. We know he's actually been much more productive with 12 catches for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns in the past 3 weeks as well. So I really like the way that Goddard is getting involved in this offense. I think it's going to be a mainstay. I want to talk about that more later. Also worth noting that the pass protection for Philadelphia has been very problematic this year, and Dallas Goedert over the last 3 weeks has just a 5.8 average depth of target, and I think that is going to remain as the big security blanket for the offense, so I think that just leads to more problematic production for Zach Ertz.
Listen, I love to go peach picking, and I agree with you, Matt. I have him fearlessly forecasted for just 5 grabs and 58 yards. So
that's not doing it for me.
That's not, the guy you drafted in the 3rd round. Someone you drafted later and has been a complete revelation at the wide receiver position is Cortland Sutton. I mean, has there been a bigger, better surprise than CS? The answer is no. However, this week, Brandon Allen is under center for the Denver Broncos. This dude's 27 years old, he was, by the way, the Rams backup. Rams were like, nah, we'd rather have Blake Bortles. He hasn't played in a single regular season game in his entire career. Also, Cleveland, much easier to run on than they are to pass on. Should be a lot of Phillip Lindsay and some Royce Freeman in this one, which I think limits Cortland Sutton's upside. So manage those expectations accordingly.
So Liz, someone in the chat room, Scott asked, what's better odds, Brandon Allen throwing a touchdown or him getting a date with you? I think you're saying clearly.
I mean, send a pic. What's up? How you looking?
Allen.
You know what I look like. That better not just be like an egg as your profile pic.
Seriously, come on, Scott.
All right, thank you guys. Time now for our shootout or shutdown segment. This is where the fellas discuss a couple matchups as it relates to the high and low Vegas point totals. So we'll start with the 2-5 Bucks, who are in Seattle to face red-hot Russell Wilson and his 6-2 Seahawks, guys.
Yeah, we got a total of 51 in this one. So, Tick, I'm going to start off with you first. Obviously on the Tampa side of things, it is Mike Evans, is Chris Godwin, must-start material. Cameron Brate, we hope he's got a rib injury. He's going to be in uniform in this one. What about Jameis? Would you roll Jameis? Would you put your trust in a guy that is a turnover magnet against Seattle in their house, knowing you made that transcontinental trip all the way to the Great Northwest?
Did I put my trust in Matt Schaub last week against?
You did. And what did he go for? You were right.
Yeah,
I was
actually
wrong
good
on that one.
Yeah.
It was like 460 and something.
And actually, the way I see this game playing out, it could be the part 2 version of Rams Tampa Bay in LA earlier this year, where it's just like a crazy shootout. Jameis goes crazy, throws for a lot of touchdowns. Russell matches him, of course, because Russ does what he does. So, I mean, I like Jameis. I like all the offensive weapons on Tampa Bay.
So 300 and multiple touchdowns, doable, you think?
It's definitely doable. He may throw multiple picks, too, but it's doable.
There's no way the guy who touted Mitch Trubisky a few minutes ago is going to veer away from Jameis wins. If you're on Mitch, you're on everybody.
This is valid. Let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks real quick. DK Metcalf, is this going to be a showcase game for him, knowing now that Josh Gordon is in the fold?
Yeah, he's got to show up now that Josh Gordon, because they're super similar players, right?
Yeah.
With we think pretty similar skill sets. I think this is a blow-up game for Metcalf. Obviously, Tampa gives up a ton of passing yards. They've been that. We've talked about it all year. They're kind of that lopsided defense. They stop your run game. They allow everything else to you. So yes, I think Metcalf could maybe repeat what he did last time out. I think he's good for at least one touchdown.
Yeah, Tampa giving up 7.5 yards per attempt, 300.5 pass yards per game, 2 passing touchdowns per game as well. All right, let's transition because I'm going to save Chris Carson for later. Don't want to tip our hand on that one because we got him an over-under. Let's talk Cleveland and Denver. I thought Liz had a salient point about Royce Freeman and Phillip Lindsay being a 1-2 punch because Brandon Allen, I went back and read all of the NFL.com and several other scouting reports that were out there, and it all came back to one player for Brandon Allen, and I found it hilarious. Case Keenum was the comp, which people never love to hear.
Just a ringing endorsement.
So are you buying? Are you buying it's going to be 1-2 punch of those thoroughbreds up there in the Mile High City?
Oh, I'm sure that's what they'll want to do, absolutely. And Freeman's looked great. Lindsay's looked great at times too. It's roughly a 50-50 split. I hate to, you're kind of rolling the dice when you're just guessing which of those backs is going to be the guy to play in a given week. I think they could both score this week, though.
Yeah, I think that's a distinct possibility. Royce has scored in back-to-back games, and Cleveland allowing the 7th most fantasy points to the running back position. Tank, you've been Mr. Contrarian. That is the theme of the show so far today. Tell me why you like Odell Beckham Jr. to finally get off the schneid.
Because if Baker Mayfield, OBJ, Jarvis Landry can't get right, even though I know they're not going against this side of the ball, but you're playing against Kyle Allen's baby step cousin, Brandon Allen. Now, if you can't get a win in the Mile High against them fools, then you are legitimately and always will be the poop emojis. Get it together, Browns. Come on now, shake and bake.
Good luck, Odell Beckham Jr. facing Chris Harris, who's given up just an 87.5 passer rating and 0.99
Hey, Jarvis
yards.
Landry has a hell of a matchup today, though.
I like Landry more. I think OBJ is going to be outside looking in among the wide receiver threes yet again.
Yep.
Everyone's related around here. That's
true.
the theme.
Everybody's Tank's cousin, Brad's cousin.
If they ball, they my cousin.
We have to take our first break, but coming up, we're talking which fantasy players our experts will think will be tasty this week.
Duke Johnson was snaking fools. That's who scored that touchdown?
Yeah.
It was Duke Johnson.
Welcome back to Fantasy Football Live. It's time now to look at our fantasy flavors of the week presented by KFC Wings. These are our picks to surprise in Week 9. So, Brad, you're up first with your Buffalo pick.
Revenge game! Jordan Howard. You got to get him in your lineup this week. He's going to pack all kinds of fantasy spice. Got to tickle the taste buds. Going against his former employer in the Chicago Bears, who dealt him away for a 6th-round pick back in March. You look at the Bears without Akeem Hicks the last 3 weeks. They have come unspooled, unraveled, giving up a 105.3 in terms of rushing yards per game to the running back position, along with 6 rushing touchdowns to RBs. Howard, a guy who's seeing a plethora of red zone opportunities, 19 in total so far this season. He plunges into the end zone and tacks on additional 75 to 80 yards and exacts that revenge.
Andy, you're up.
Well, I've got the Nashville flavor, so I'm going to look to Tennessee. I'm going to go with Jonnu Smith, coming off a 78-yard, 1-touchdown game. He's caught 9 of his last 10 targets. Obviously, Delaney Walker not going to be active. He's aggravated that injury that he suffered last year. That's going to be bad news for a while in all likelihood. Tight end has been an absolute minefield for fantasy owners so far this year, and Smith can produce. You look at Carolina's defense, they've allowed 80-plus yards to tight ends over the last 2 weeks. I think Smith can do that here. I think he can go for 85 and another score.
Tank, you like the same team?
Yeah, well, I got that honey barbecue today, and I'm going with Derrick Henry. Now, he's going from Nashville to Carolina. You know that Carolina sauce has that sweet and tangy profile to it? And that's pretty much how I describe Derrick Henry, because Carolina's defense giving up the 12th most rushing yards per game, over 135 yards a game. And that's a great matchup. It's a sweet matchup for Derrick Henry, yet he's a little tangy in your mouth because you remember how he was balling on all those guys last year. We really haven't seen that yet this year. So, Derrick Henry, get that tang out my mouth and get a little sweet and spicy and ball out on Carolina today. You hear?
Oh, the Mississippi finally came out.
There it is, yeah.
Good. All right, thank you guys.
Straight from the Delta.
Don't forget, you can't have Sunday football without wings. Now, we also can't have Sunday mornings without Liz and Matt, who are helping all those folks in the chat. Hello, guys.
I mean, you could have it without us, but it would be much less fun, if you ask me. Now, let's start off with our chat questions here.
But would we get wings?
Do we trade wings for our lack of presence on the
Yeah.
show? Because, I mean, that's definitely something.
Nobody will have some wings like this duo.
Can confirm. How about we confirm for one of our chatters here, Havoc-namics? I don't know. Can't read that far away.
Havoc, Matt. It's Havoc.
Sure, maybe.
Retake
It's hard to say. Would you start Josh Allen or Kirk Cousins at quarterback this week? Kirk Cousins, by the way, been the hottest quarterback on the slate so far.
Yeah, now everybody's watching him, which means he's not going to do very well. And it is worth noting that the Chiefs do get Chris Jones, their defensive lineman, back, though Frank Clark is still out, their defensive end. I am going to go with Josh Allen. I think he's going to try to make up for that wind game last week where he had a couple of fumbles heading into the game. He told my colleague Kimberly Martin that he needed to do a better job of hanging on to the ball. So, yeah, Josh, do that. And also, please go run all over Washington. I think I like the rushing floor here for Allen, so I'm going to take him.
I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins. I think that offense is coming together, especially if Thielen gets some snaps in today. I think this overall, I mean, again, statistically, the best quarterback over the last month. So I think you just go with Kirk Cousins. You keep rolling. Especially, this matchup is still fine.
This is the moment he throws up all over himself.
Well, of course it is. But let's jump back into the chat. And this question is really good. Comes from Nick Gilbert, who used a ton of emojis, the siren and the frog. The frog's a new one. We don't see much of the frog. He asked Davante Adams or Jalen Samuels. Flex in a full PPR. I like this question because, of course, Adams coming back. Jalen Samuels should have the full workload to himself with all those injuries in Pittsburgh. Which way are you going? I think this is a floor ceiling sort of.
How are you not asking me to hop to it, Matt, with the frog emoji? Missed opportunity.
I wasn't very alert on that. You know?
Jalen, ooh, look at this. I'm going to go with Jalen Samuels. I know that Davante Adams is back, but turf toe seems a little bit weird. I don't want to mess with any decoy situations. And by the way, Rodgers has been getting it done, spreading the ball around over the past few weeks without him. So I just feel like the safer bet, and I think this is what you're talking about, is Jalen Samuels, even if he is not your traditional RB, with both Snell and Connor out. Yeah,
I agree with you. There's not going to be many weeks you'll want to start Jalen Samuels, but this is one of those weeks. And last one we'll take for this one, and I can't believe it's come to this, but Johnny Gonzalez is asking us Keenan Allen or Deante Johnson.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Come on.
Come on, bro.
You're starting Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen, by the way, the Packers have been really bad against wide receivers of late. They're giving up over 9 yards per attempt over the last 4 weeks. And I think this game could be very high scoring considering how bad the Chargers are on defense.
And last week, Deante Johnson's touchdown was a fluke.
Yeah.
Like that.
His
that
touchdowns
wasn't-
are usually flukes.
Right. So don't chase it.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen's a consistent producer.
Come back for our next social segments. Bring those emojis into the chat room. And bring, like I said, bring some takes. Bring some of your opinions that we can talk about and tell you why you're wrong.
Thank you, guys. Let's get to our first over-under of the show. This is where we give our experts a player and a stat, and they decide whether they'll go over or under that number. Now, as we mentioned last segment, we're going to talk about Lamar Jackson. Against the Seahawks last week, Jackson rushed for 116 yards. The week before that, 152 yards. So this week, against a very stingy Patriots defense, will Jackson go over or under 62.5 rushing yards? Andy?
Oh, listen, I feel like this number is an insult to Lamar Jackson. He's averaging 82.3 rushing yards per game on the season. He's gone over this total in his last 4 games. He's over 100 yards 3 times already this season. I see an easy path for him to do it again this week. I'm taking the over here. Something Matt mentioned earlier, the Patriots play a ton of man coverage. That certainly benefits Lamar as a scrambler. He's got 19 carries that have gone for over 10 yards this year. So I don't even think he needs to run more than, 8, 10 times in order to do this. Yes, he goes over, possibly easily.
Tank?
I'm going over, and I'm not going to throw out any stats. I just think this is one of those funky weeks. We expected the San Francisco defense to go crazy on Kyler Murray, and then he ended up looking like steaming Willie Beeman. We expected the damn Jaguars to be able to throw all over the Texans, and Jonathan Joseph's out there looking like Deion Sanders. So I understand that the Patriots defense is the best in the league, but at the same time, if you look at their schedule, they really haven't played anybody too much yet. So I'm expecting Action Jackson to unleash the invisible juice and go straight crazy over the Pats. Baltimore Ravens win.
Oh, yeah!
Liz?
I love what the guys are saying, and I am 100% also going to say over. I'd love to play contrarian here, but I have learned my lesson when betting against Jackson. It's not a good idea. Also, to Tank's earlier point, yeah, sure, the Patriots have stopped a lot of these quarterbacks, but none of them have been mobile except for Josh Allen, who managed to rush for 26 yards. And I'm going to take Lamar Jackson over Josh Allen any day. And furthermore, you have to imagine that the Patriots would love to get up early, right, and force Lamar to throw the ball, but I don't think it's going to be that easy when we talk about the cornerbacks that are back for the Ravens, and we'll get to that more a little bit later. So, yes, over. The dudes are right. So am I. It's Action Jackson time.
And let the church say amen.
Amen. Let's do another quick slant, shall we? This time we're talking the Chicago Bears versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, when this game was announced, we definitely thought each of these teams would be in better situations in the standings, but nonetheless, there's still plenty of fantasy goodness to discuss. So we'll get 90 seconds on the clock, and we'll hand this one off to Matt and Liz. Hey, guys.
Yeah, hand us this. This is great.
I don't know how many times the Bears and I have to go to therapy. It is, we are really sticking it out here. Can I tell my Halloween story?
You may tell your
Okay, so I know we only have 90 seconds on the clock, but really, do you care about this?
This is a much better use of your time, trust me.
So I was out trick-or-treating with my littles on Wednesday night, saw a kid dressed up as Mitch Trubisky, might have had some mommy juice in my Hydro Flask, and said rather loudly, "Oh, look, that kid's going as a mistake." His mom didn't like it so much, but that's what happened. It was great. It was fantastic. Also, that's the problem here. That's why we're expecting a lot of David Montgomery in this matchup, because you cannot trust Mitchell Trubisky, which means feed David Montgomery, but the Eagles' run defense is good. Also, the Eagles got both of their starting corners, Jalen Mills and Ronald Darby, back last week. Allen Robinson is the only person you want to mess with. Maybe Anthony Miller, who was a fantasy damage darling last week and put up over 60 yards, but only on 3 catches. His target volume is He does have the best matchup, if we're speaking on paper, straight matchup against these Eagles corners. So if you need a flex with so many teams on bye and injuries, maybe, and we know he's great. He's just not getting the red zone looks, which is so frustrating because he's such a good contested catch artist. So I think Anthony Miller could be a flex in terms of matchup, but that's a desperation play in like a 14-teamer.
Yeah, and on the Eagles side, I think they're actually asking a lot of similar questions. They don't have to worry about a mistake at quarterback with Carson Wentz back there, but I think they do have to ask.
His players might.
Yeah, you never know, but I think they have to ask a lot of questions about themselves too from an offensive identity standpoint. And I want to see if Miles Sanders starts to get more work after he had his best rushing game by far of the year. Obviously not, and the Bears defense has been.
But what about Desean Jackson? He's making
Jackson's
his
back
return.
too, but I still think they can't rely on an aging 30-plus-year-old deep threat who's always hurt to be the centerpiece, the key that unlocks the offense. I think they have to come up with more answers playing left-handed like Sanders and Dallas Goedert, who I expect to only be more involved going forward.
D-Jack, by the way, only $17 in Yahoo DFS because people are afraid of him coming off of the multi-week injury, the abdominal issue. But, I mean, D-Jack is also always good. His matchup's not fantastic against these Bears corners, but he's always good for, you know, a 3-catch, 80-yard game.
Thank you, guys. We're going to hit the phone lines now.
You can take it away now.
I know you've been patiently waiting on the phone line, so thank you very much for that. First up, we have Salem in Cleveland. Good morning. How can we help?
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Chilling.
Awesome.
Real quick, a non-PPR. I have wide receiver. I have Devante Parker, Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, or A.J. Brown. I need one. And then also non-PPR, Jalen Samuels or Josh Jacobs.
Oh, I'm going to go Josh Jacobs for the second one all day long. The Lions can't stop the run.
Right. Those are two really good options, though. I just want to say that. I think they can both finish top 12, but I would go Jacobs as well.
The other one's a little bit more complicated for me.
It's 1 or 2 in a.
I think he only needed the one for the first one.
It's non-PPR.
I'm going to go Curtis Samuel. So Samuel's one of those guys who's just been racking up the air yards, but it hasn't really materialized on the field except when the matchup is warranted. Now, this is not the greatest matchup on paper going against the Tennessee Titans, but I think the volume is going to be there. He's got more of a chemistry right now with Kyle Allen than DJ Moore does. So for those reasons, probably the best option out of that 4-pack that he threw out.
There's a lot of tricky matchups here. Normally I feel like in this league you'll want to go McLaurin, but he's got Buffalo. Buffalo has just been death with everything, really.
With Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, that's an issue. Here's your first NFL start. You get the Buffalo defense. Sure, that's what could go wrong. So I agree with you. I'm going to go Samuel.
Actually, I don't agree with you. I'm going with Devante Parker. I think he has a really good matchup. He's got 3 touchdowns out of the past 4 games, heavily targeted in the red zone. I think this could be a sneaky shootout, Jets versus Dolphins. Ugly game that no one's paying attention to. Really good for DFS. Parker, that's my guy.
Well, you're Mr. Contrarian today, so it fits your narrative.
Yep.
I like it.
Up next, we have Keith in Atlanta. Good morning, Keith. What's your question?
Hey, guys. What's going on? Good to speak to you again. Hey, this is for my cousin Tank. This is for my cousin Tank. Hey,
what happened, cousin?
Hey, I got 10-team standard. I need an RB2. I'm chasing points here. Do I go with Danny Amendola or Robbie Anderson?
Robbie Anderson or who?
Danny Amendola.
Amendola.
You gotta go with Robbie. Yeah, you gotta go with Robbie.
I mean, Robbie's overdue.
He's actually like the second coming of Flipper Anderson, the way he plays.
Yeah, he kind of is.
Don't they kind of remind you of each
a little
other?
bit. Yeah, I see that.
And man, he has sneaky upside this week where he can go for 150 yards, 2 tubs. I'm not predicting that, but I'm saying I can see it in the realm of outcomes.
Sounds like you just predicted it.
All right, I did predict it. Robbie Anderson going ham today.
All right, there you go. He rubber stamped it.
Especially in a standard league, this is no contest.
Yeah, I mean, Amendola didn't score any touchdowns. Catch a lot of
and
balls.
if he does go ham, send your cousin some of that money, dog.
Next, we have Tom in Michigan. Good morning. How can we help?
Hey, guys. I just need to see if I should go DJ Moore, Sony Michele, or Jamal Williams in a PPR league, and would you start Jonnu Smith over Mark Andrews?
Yes on Jonnu Smith, and I'm going to go Jamal Williams. He's not getting a ton of work, but 10 to 12 touches per game, that's not going to change, moving forward, and especially not going to change today in a delightful matchup going against who? Oh, yes, the Chargers. Who went off last week against them? Yes, mandatory Montgomery. So Williams, even on a smaller volume, I think he's got a great shot at 60 combined yards and another.
I love that all roads lead back to David
Always.
Montgomery.
Hey, man,
Always.
it's rare that I get to, gloat about my guy. It's only happened one time this year, so. Tank?
Are both of y'all with my cousin Jamal?
Yeah.
I am on Jamal,
How
yeah.
many cousins you got?
Well, he's a Williams.
Yeah, that's true. Got a lot of cousins.
Yeah, I'm weird today, man. Sony Michele. I know you have to pick your poison with him.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
For real?
I mean, I think it's an Aaron Jones game.
Yeah, but you know Jamal's going to get some because it's Matt LaFleur. That's what Matt LaFleur does. He feeds 2 running backs.
Oh, man,
So-
your accent is just...
LaFleur.
Mayfair.
I'm telling you, he's going to find the end zone again. You're playing with fire with Sony
Yeah, I'm a
Michele.
little weird today, man. Like climbing the rope in gym class. What movie is that off of?
That was Wayne's World, I think.
Oh.
All right, before this gets too weird, we're going to step away for a quick break. Stay tuned. We have some players that will do some fantasy damage for you. That's coming up.
Like climbing the rope in gym class. Sorry.
Welcome back to Fantasy Football Live. Court is back in session, and our very own Andy Behrens is tackling your problems without fear. Judge Behrens,
Fix the mully.
who are you calling justice upon today?
Oh, I'm being robed in my chambers here. This case comes to us from HKFF26, and I just want to say, first of all, this did not need to be a 3-part tweet, but that it is. He says there's a guy in our league who decided to wait until 8 weeks into the season to complain about everything. We determined draft order before the draft. 2 people dropped out, so they had to redo the order. This guy dropped from the 2nd pick to the 3rd pick. This is one of his grievances. He only had the 3rd pick. We can go through this. He complained 8 weeks later that he got screwed over more than anyone else, called the whole league a sham, not getting what he wants. He is intentionally tanking his lineups. Let's move ahead to the last tweet here. Said he was going to fix his lineups this last Sunday, and now this week he's left 3 players on a bye in his lineup, has no players on his bench to replace them. Is it safe to ban this person from the league? Folks, nothing undermines competitive balance in a fantasy league like a deadbeat manager. And this is no ordinary deadbeat manager. This is somebody who is actively working to undermine the league. What are his complaints about, by the way? There was a little bit more Q&A with this commissioner. Turns out this guy's complaining because he doesn't like that they have a free agent acquisition budget in the league, which is the fairest way to determine who gets what free agent, and he didn't like that he dropped from 2nd to 3rd in the draft. This guy is a monster. Yes, it is fine to ban them. It is fine to lock them. your commissioner, unfortunately, is going to need to take over this roster. That's not great because you don't want to make a lot of ads ahead of other people, but you got to make sure that this team is fielding a competitive roster. I hope, for your sake, that you collected the league fee in advance. That is why commissioners need to do it. But yes, absolutely, you're banning this guy, you're locking him, kick him out.
Lock him up! Lock him up! Lock him up!
Remember, if a last-second play or a missed kick costs you your matchup this week, tell us about it. Send a video to @YahooFantasy using the hashtag FFLBadBeats, and Andy will lock him up.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Andy. Let's bring Liz Loza in now so she can give us her sleeper picks to do some fantasy damage this week. Liz, you're starting with a QB who just might be a solid pickup, not only for this week, but going forward as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a chalk pick, I'm going to be honest. But don't look now. Derek Carr is doing stuff. He's been hyper efficient, and sure, that's because he's checking down a whole bunch, as Derek Carr is wont to do. I mean, he only has 23 deep balls on the season, but he is producing. He is playing clean. He has a true passer rating of 103.5, which is QB8 for that statistical category. With Tyrone Williams back in the lineup, he put up 285 yards and 3 touchdowns on Houston last week. This Sunday, he'll face a Lions squad that is bottom 8 in sacks and bottom 5 in pressures. Of course, the return of Darius Slay definitely limits the upside that Carr has, but you can't stop rolling with him right now, especially with so many teams on bye. I like him both in DFS. I think he's only $27, and as a bye-week plug-in. At the wide receiver position, I'm going to start with a Miami Dolphin because I ain't scared. Preston Williams has been very, very good. In fact, he won his matchup last week against Joe Hayden. It wasn't a fantastic stat line. He's not going to put up fantastic stat lines because his team is tanking, and we all know this. However, he has seen at least 6 targets every week since week 4, and he's also top 12 in deep targets with 12 on the season. I think that's interesting considering the Jets have allowed 28 plays over 20 yards, and they're giving up the 10th most receiving yards per game, an average of 270. So I think that there's a good amount. It's very likely that he's going to see a good amount of Darryl Roberts, who's getting picked on about 10 times per game and allowing an average of nearly 75 yards per outing. So I like Preston Williams. He's owned actually in only 14% of leagues, and I think he could be a really nice dart throw this week. Finally, I have a tight end. Big surprise. But it's because someone tweeted at me and said, with the T.Y. Hilton news, which wide receiver should I pick in Indianapolis? And the answer is Jack Doyle. Do not mess with any of these receivers. I mean, sure, go ahead and play your Zach Pascal game. That's fine. But Jack Doyle is where it is at. He is second in team targets behind Hilton. He's also on the field for 72% of the team snaps, which is more than Hilton. Eric Ebron, yes, is getting the red zone looks, but we have seen the connection that Jacoby Brissett and Jack Doyle have that predated this season, right back in 2017. And also, this is my favorite part. Eric Ebron's banged up. He's going to play, but he ain't 100%. So I love Jack Doyle this week as a bottom tight end 1 option, maybe that tight end 10 to 13 range. It's ugly, but it would not surprise me to see him find the end zone this week.
Thank you, Liz. You may want to turn your volume down for this, and not just because Brad is about to give sometimes terrible gambling advice. We love you, Brad. We're going to fade the noise now. So, Senor Evans, the floor is yours.
Yes, I am not making a whole lot of jelly beans so far in Fade the Noise. We're at 500 overall. This looked so good about 3 weeks ago, and it has gone south in a hurry, though this spread record has started to rebound. We're at least above 500. Hopefully, it's going to be a clean sweep. I'm feeling good. Feeling extra spicy about week number 9. Let's go ahead and move on to our first matchup. We got Lions, we got Raiders, and a game that's going to be a whole lot of pew, 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 shootout appeal. 50.5 is the total. Now, the public is hammering the living daylights out of the over on this. 75% of public spread tickets, in fact, on the over in this particular contest. The Lions 4-2 ATS last 6, over in 4 of their last 5 games. Oakland also over in 4 of their last 5 games. I hate following the public here, but I'm taking the over as well. I think this game's going to be comfortably in the high 20s, low 30s. Moving on to a matchup between the Patriots and Baltimore Ravens. We've already touched on this, kind of alluded to it earlier on in the program, but I love me some Baltimore Ravens tonight. Getting 3. I'm going to take them straight up on the money line, though. In this exercise, they're going to give me the points. So they're being very generous, and understandably so. New England 10-2 ATS. Over their last 12 games, Baltimore just 2-6-1 ATS in its last 9, and 0-6 for the Ravens in covering the spread at home this season. But Lamar Jackson's a completely different beast, a guy that is a multi-dimensional superstar, and he's going to wreak havoc against this man defense, as Harmon, as Barons have touched on. So give me the Ravens all diggity day long. Only 25% of the public spread tickets right now on Baltimore. Let's move on to the Monday night affair and a classic rivalry between the Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. This is another one of those where the public, of course, is jumping all over the favorite in this one because Daniel Jones is at the controls of the New York Giants. Dallas also impeccable, 5-0 against the spread in its last 5 contests. The Giants, meanwhile, 3-6 ATS in their last 9 games. Only 29% of the public spread tickets right now on the Giants. I love fading the majority. I'm taking New York to cover the 7 in this one. Then finally, let's get a prop bet on the board. These have been very unlucky and unkind to me so far this year. But will Royce Freeman rush for 45 or more yards? Yes at -114, no at -114, and I'm indeed taking the yes. Royce has gone over this number 4 times this season. He's averaging right at it, 44.8 rush yards per game. You look at the opponent. It's the Cleveland Chihuahuas, and the Chihuahuas have allowed the 7th most fantasy points, 4.7 yards per carry to the running back position. And not only that, but 7 rushers have hit this number against the Brownies this season. Hammer the living daylights out of Royce, who's been getting more run for the Denver Broncos. So go out there and make those $100 bills, Team Huevos. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Brad. If anyone's paying attention to the mess over in London currently,
crazy.
My apologies if you have Carlos Hyde.
Which I do.
Yes.
In 3 leagues. Brad is such a pro.
Brad, you
fumble
missed
going
it.
to the end zone.
Yeah.
Every interesting thing that's happened in this
fight
game
broke.
happened
It
while you were
just
doing
happened.
that
He's got a
segment.
hole.
Justin Reed just picked the ball off on the first play of that drive.
Carlos Hyde went 58 yards, got stripped at the goal line, inches away from the goal
Didn't
line.
even break the plane.
Didn't break the plane.
Oh, because it got fumbled
I
into
mean,
the
my
end
man is
zone.
at like 160 rushing yards in this game, but
This game sucks.
I was supposed to have that touchdown. That was my
Sucks.
touchdown.
And then Minshew just threw another pick?
Yeah. So
on the
they got
first
the
play.
ball back. Is there enough
Done.
time for Hyde to make up for what just happened?
Oh, I like the way you're thinking. I
I'm just
really
trying
like
to
the
be
way
positive
that
here.
you're thinking.
Just trying to be
If this is Duke Johnson,
We
lose
will
it.
keep an eye on this, and we may or may not update you depending on what happens.
Nick Foles is the big winner.
It's London, man. Bad stuff always happens in that vortex.
Yeah, that's Stanford, by the way. I
Not
see you, Stanford.
Not good. All right, well, Brad just touched on this game a little bit, but let's dive a little deeper into the Detroit Lions and Oakland Raiders matchup in our next quick slant. The Raiders are playing their first true home game since September 15th. That is crazy.
Wow, it's been a while.
What sticks out to you guys in this one?
And Deshaun Watson with a touchdown.
Sorry, I tried.
Oh, he was. It should have been a touchdown. He marked him out.
You tried to will it.
Ty Johnson. I'm getting some questions about it because Trey Carson is now on injured reserve. Who else they got? J.D. McKissick? Some other stiffs? Do
They
you
got
trust
nothing.
anything?
They had an opportunity to trade for a running back at the deadline, didn't do it, and now they're stuck with Ty Johnson.
Of course, it's been Kenny Drake.
The last time we thought it was going to be Ty
Right.
Johnson's workload, they just invented Trey Carson, right? So we can't guarantee that he's going to be the only guy, but surely he's in line for 15 touches or so.
Surely?
Well, okay, maybe I'm not sure. Let's call it 10. Let's call it 12 touches, something like that. He was a remarkably efficient runner in college, but you can't rely on him as like a top 24 fantasy back.
No, absolutely not. Maybe a flex option at best. Touchdown, Deandre Hopkins. Oh, a flag is down. That's going to be PI. What about on the other side of the ball, Tyrone Williams, another one of your cousins, 90 yards and a touchdown? Doable?
I mean, it seems like whenever he plays, he scores a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I can see him balling. The Gazelle.
Yeah, I mean, you got Darren Waller there. We love Derek
Ball.
Carr.
He had an off game last week, so you expect him to go crazy today.
Yeah, these are both terrible pass defenses. They are
100%.
bottom of the, like Detroit absolutely last in the league, and Oakland has allowed 8.5 yards per pass attempt on the season. Very friendly.
And this is the thing that scares you because both teams like to play slow, yet they'll both give it up in the pass game too. I mean, so it's one of those things like how they want to come out and attack each other.
That's why I love Stafford. That's why I love Carr. I love pretty much everybody associated in this game with the exception of Ty Johnson.
Both teams need a win, so only one can win. Not sure if you knew that. We've got to take another break, but when we return, we'll go over and under on a soaring Seattle Seahawks. That's next.
Gardner Minshew.
So
So
DeAndre,
glad I have Gardner. So glad.
DeAndre scores touchdowns again.
Yeah, that's good.
Welcome back to FFL. We have a quick score update in the London game between the Jags and the Texans. 26-3. Jaguars.
The Texans
could not
defense
find
is
the
going
end
to
zone.
finish this thing with like 40 fantasy points.
Yeah, the way all the last 5 minutes of the game.
3 minutes, 39 seconds remain. I have Gardner Minshew, and I'm feeling sorry for myself.
I think it's safe to say Nick Foles is starting the next game.
Yeah, how about it?
Goodness gracious. We thought the Jags would play better in this one, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, everything statistically was telling you to play Gardner Minshew, to play DJ Chark, to play, Chris Conley, any of the
Everybody
vertical
gets
options.
busy against the Texans secondary.
Everybody does.
Until this.
Well, again, it's just London.
London.
There's
Well,
something
if there's one
strange and
team that
bizarre.
shouldn't be thrown off by playing in London, it's Jacksonville.
It's Jackson.
That seems to play
London
3
is
games
their
a year.
second home. East, for
Yeah.
crying out loud.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Doug Marrone is right. Maybe they all got diarrhea. He said he had the magic formula.
Chorizo burrito.
I'm telling you. And maybe he didn't dole out whatever special pills to prevent those kinds of experiences.
There's a level of fantasy insight you won't get on
There
any
it
other show.
is.
That's true.
They're not talking about that on ESPN.
No, they're not.
And with that, let's go over or under now on Seahawks running back Chris Carson. He's having an awesome season for fantasy purposes. He's currently RB8 on the season thus far. Today, he faces a Tampa defense that's just meh. So, will Carson go over or under 79.5 rushing yards today? Brad, we'll start with you.
I'm taking the under on this one. Look, Chris Carson has been quite the revelation this season. This guy's getting 76% of the opportunity share in the Seattle backfield. Rashad Penny is an afterthought, a footnote within this scheme right now. I mean, he's number 4 in total evaded tackles, number 7 in total yards created, top 5 in yak per attempt. But Tampa Bay just stonewalls everybody in the trenches. They're giving up just 2.9 yards per carry. Derrick Henry is the season-high rush yards allowed this year, and it's shy of this number. It was 74 last week. I don't think Chris Carson's going to hit 80.
Tank?
When I initially did this, I picked the under, so I guess I'm going to stick with it. But, I mean, this seems like the damn upside down. San Francisco 49ers go to the wire with Arizona. I don't know what the hell Jacksonville are doing over there in London in their second home. So, I mean, yeah, they only give up 68 yards per game. But at the same time, like, I mean, crazy stuff is happening. Hey, is there a way to switch that under to over? Or is that too late? Because I'm thinking it's the Bizarro. So I'm saying under, right? My voice is saying under, but my head is thinking over.
Well, you are definitely going to be right this week.
Yeah. Good. Way to hedge your bet there, Tank.
Matt?
Hey, Tank, don't worry. I'll take the over here. And it's
There we go,
because,
Matty.
look, it's Pete Carroll and Brian Schottenheimer. You know they're going to look right at this run defense of Tampa Bay that gets shredded on the back end and stuffs rushers up front, like Brad mentioned, and they're going to say, no. We're not going to do the smart thing. We're not going to do the logical thing. We're not going to throw it all over the yard here. We're going to establish the hell out of the run. And I don't care if it takes Chris Carson 35 carries to get there. They'll get him over this number.
All right, thank you very much. We'll stick with offensive players for this next segment, but we'll switch to the wideout spot. Matt Harmon will give us the scoop on a receiver he likes and one he doesn't like in Week 9. Matt, take it away.
Yeah, one player that I really like this week is Tyrone Williams, and it's easy to tell you why. He's scored in every single game that he's played, and I love his role in the Raiders' offense. Frankly, I think he's the one guy that can get vertical among this wide receiver group right now. You know, despite missing games, he's run the most routes, 161 among the wide receiver group. That's 32.2 per game, so plenty of opportunity for Williams. Love his matchup against the Lions secondary. Even if Darius Slay plays in this contest, I think they're so broken on the pass rushing perspective, they're not going to be able to put a lot of heat on Derek Carr, whose offensive line has played better than expected. And hey, I'll even give you a bonus. I like another deep threat in this game too, Marvin Jones. I know he had that 4-touchdown game sandwiched between a couple of duds, 2 for 17 and 4 for 22. But you play him this week against that in this Detroit Lions Oakland Raiders game, especially with that really problematic secondary over on the Oakland side. So like those two guys. But one deep threat, one guy that gets downfield that I don't like is Robbie Anderson. I know he'll be a popular play because he's playing the Dolphins. But look, I just do not trust this Jets offense to get the ball down the field right now, especially with Sam Darnold under pressure. Over the last 2 weeks, he's been under pressure on 25 dropbacks. He's had a 44% on-target percentage. It's one of the worst in the league in this span. 3.3 yards per attempt and 5 interceptions. This offensive line in New York is so depleted right now. They're so bad. I do not think that Sam Darnold is going to have the time to get down the field. And Liz, hold on to this one. I like Demaryius Thomas much better in this game. He's been the most productive receiver for the Jets since Sam Darnold has returned. He has been much better than Robbie Anderson, and he actually has a little bit of a high, or just right around the same range, average depth of target. So if you're looking for a downfield guy from this Jets receiver core, I like Demaryius Thomas. They both have 14 targets over the last 2 weeks. Hey, don't go chasing Robbie Anderson. Stick with a trusted veteran, a guy that's great in 11 personnel like Demaryius Thomas.
Thank you, Matt. Time now for Tank to do what he does best, and that is give us his daily fantasy plays. So, Tank, who are you going with today, and are you actually going to play them?
Yeah, thanks for removing that hate from executive producer Velasquez that I saw last night. Yeah, I saw that, BV. Yeah. Now, I'm playing Mitch Trubisky because in 2018, it was Mitchell-palooza, and now it's just Mitch is a loser. But look at those eyes. Y'all may see fear in his eyes. I see opportunity because the Eagles' defense has been getting honey roasted since Byron Maxwell Toast was in the lineup a few years ago. And I'm just telling you, like, if he can't ball today against the Eagles, then life really is a Mitch for the Bears fans.
Oh.
It's a serious Mitch.
Going to my running back, Jalen Samuels. He's $12. He's going to get more touches than Trump at a swimsuit rally.
Oh, my God.
So,
Franklin.
going to my wide receiver. Devante Parker, I already said it. 3 touchdowns in the last 4 games. I'm expecting Fitzmagic to come out with his chest hair flowing like Noise, a.k.a. Uncle Rico last week. And Devante Parker is going to be the main recipient. Look at that smile. He's going to ball today. Contrarian play, another one. Get him in your lineup. Tight end, Greg Olson.
G-Reg!
Every time the Panthers play against a team that gives it up to the tight end, he has at least 7 targets, which means that he's going to channel his inner G-Reg from the 7th floor today against the Titans. And if you don't know what that means, Google G-Reg 7th floor. You're welcome. And last but not least, with my defense, I'm coming in with the $12 Cleveland Browns because Bradley Evans, who's the quarterback for the Denver Broncos today?
That would be University of Arkansas great Brandon Allen.
Okay. Well, I really don't want to do this, but we have to take a look at the standings for the Guru Challenge.
Yes, we do.
It's over. I'm declaring this over.
Andy is starting to run away. You have more than a 100-point lead after winning in Week 8. Andy.
How about that? I could just rest everybody for a week.
You really could.
Probably still come back on
really
top.
Could.
It's kind of bad.
You could take a bye and come back.
You're kind of making a little bit of a move here.
You know what my patented line is, but I'm going to wait till next week to say it. I'll just do it without any words coming out of my mouth.
All right.
So Brad and Liz are battling for second. Tank, you had a big week. You moved out of last. We can just, wrap
People
this
are
up.
really
We
talking
can be done
about
with this. It's fine.
the Borges-Harmon battle. That's a good one.
Is that a thing that's trending?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely
trending. We can.
Yeah, for the hair, the hair battle. Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, it's my job to move on, and I'm very happy to move on from that. It is quick slant time again. The Green Bay Packers are in L.A. to face the Chargers, and the Packers are on a roll. They might have Davante Adams back in the mix, while the Chargers are just looking for a win. Now, since this one is in L.A., even though it will likely feel like a Packers home game, we'll send it down to Liz and Matt to discuss. Hey, guys.
No lies detected there.
Yeah. No kidding. I'm really excited about this game, honestly.
Are you?
Well, I like it from the Green Bay side because we're seeing these 2 running backs really come into the fold together at the same time.
Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams.
Yeah, I think they're like the new Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram. Right.
Sure.
Both on a productive offense. Aaron Rodgers playing at the height of his powers, and now they get Davante Adams back. It's just that much more exciting for this offense. It has been really fun to watch since the Rodgers has finally kind of gelled with the coaching staff here.
What are your thoughts about Davante Adams? Because we obviously are getting a lot of questions about him coming back from the turf toe injury under the coverage of Casey Hayward, who has not been a stud this year, but is still a stud in terms of, other cornerbacks in the league.
I think it all depends on what your other options are. For example, one league where I have Davante Adams is this Team Huevos auction draft that we all did together.
Brad.
Oh my God, I start off 3-0. Everyone gets hurt, including Davante Adams. So guess what? I don't have any other options. I got to play Davante Adams this week. But if you're concerned about that, if you have someone better to throw out there other than like Paris frickin' Campbell or something,
I mean, so
then maybe you think about it.
Let's quantify this a little bit. To me, he's in that low-end wide receiver 2 range, high-end flex, like wide receiver 23, 25 range.
Yeah.
That's where I'm putting him. Also, let's talk about Ken Wisenhunt getting canned.
Weird situation here in Phillip Rivers last season as a Chargers quarterback.
Yes, and
Or he's Titans quarterback next year.
Anthony Lynn was like, oh yeah, I was gonna do it eventually, so like, girl, just pack your bags and take the damn cat with you. I'm out.
Yeah,
like,
get out early.
Was not into it. I do think that's important to mention because I feel like there will be an emphasis on the run, which I like in terms of Melvin Gordon's potential production with Anthony Lynn and this QB's coach. I mean, whatever, the QB's coach ain't a thing.
Okay.
Like, there's gonna be more running, I would imagine, with Wisenhunt out the door. So I like that for Gordon's value more than Eckler.
Although I will say, last note for me, I like Mike Williams a lot in this game. I mentioned.
Well, it'd be nice if he caught something, because for 3 weeks I've been telling everybody about the double-digit targets that he's been drawing, and yet he cannot convert, and he is supposed to convert, but he is supposed to. That is his thing. He is a contested catch, huge catch radius guy, and I'm worried about maybe Phillip Rivers, starting to maybe not trust him so much, getting a little spooked, but I do like the matchup. It's got to come eventually. We'll see.
You saw my standings in the DFS challenge, and I'm playing him this week. So fingers crossed, I guess.
We're all crossing our fingers at this point. At least I am. All right, we've got a final score in London, 26-3. I don't know that we need to take the time to discuss.
No, let's
Jaguars
wash that away from our collective memory,
Terrible.
please.
Anyway, we've got to take another break, but hang tight. We'll go over and under on the New York Jets offense. That's next. Football Live here on this beautiful Week 9 morning. Let's get a check of our social channels. Liz and Matt will help all our favorite friends before games kick off. What's happening over there, guys?
Yeah, we're going to hit up our chat room right now, so flood them with your best questions. Use obviously the cutest emojis to catch our attention here. And first off, Jackson_Rubel, that's what I'm going to go with there. Jarvis Landry, Jamal Williams, or Jamison Crowder needs two of them in a full PPR.
Gross.
I kind of sneaky like Jarvis Landry.
Sure. I mean, I'm sitting Jamison Crowder.
Yeah.
Was the answer to the question.
Yeah, that is the answer. Jamal Williams, of course, we really like him against that really bad Chargers defense. It's also worth noting that, just to update everyone, that Sterling Shepard has been ruled out for Monday Night Football, despite the fact that he cleared the protocol, he practiced, so make sure to account for that. I know I saw earlier someone ask about Sterling Shepard or Davante Adams. Looked like the decision has been made for you. Let's move on to Jonah from Facebook, who asked us, Desean Jackson, Preston Williams, or Danny Amendola? Gross.
Desean Jackson, Preston Williams, or Danny Amendola. I cannot with the Danny Amendola.
I cannot either. Oh,
I'm sorry.
my God.
It is not a thing. Of course, Hawkinson doesn't find a red zone, doesn't get a red zone target the 1 week he was guaranteed to. No, thank you. This is between Desean Jackson coming back or Preston Williams, who I talked about in Fantasy Damage. I'm going to lean with Desean Jackson. I think he's healthy enough. I think he's probably hungry to get back on the field, and I like his consistency and, frankly, his offense more.
Yeah, this is a moral issue for me. It's just against my code to start players like Danny Amendola, Adam Humphries, these chuckleheads with low A dots in rough offenses. No thing. I mean, the Lions are fine offense, but still, don't do that to yourself.
I mean, look at this bro throwing out A dots, because that's cool.
Give me a break. Anyways, let's move on. How about this one from Mike from Facebook? He says, PPR, Sutton with the trash quarterback. Well, okay, never mind. That one said Sterling Shepard. The question was answered for you. You're playing Cortland Sutton.
Got him.
Moving on. Josh asks us with a bunch of mind-blown emojis. Let's stick on the Preston Williams thing. Mecole Hardman or Preston Williams. Hardman's not really playing enough. Like he's making splash plays
touchdowns there.
But
Yeah.
he's not playing enough snaps, not running enough routes.
I'm going to go with Williams because he's seeing like 6 to 8 targets a week.
Gross.
You're going to go with Hardman?
No, I'm not, but I don't love the fact that I have to do it. But you got to do what you got to do.
Preston Williams.
Now, let's hit one more question before we get out of here. This one I really like because it's a little more, wide view. Spill Proof, that's a cute one, asks us, should I trade Adam Thielen for Davante Adams? I think you do that trade right now if you can do it. If you can swing it.
Especially if he has a hamstring issue. Those are likely to flare up again. And also, I know that we're on a kick right now and Mike Zimmer's feeling his balance, but it would not surprise me if that stuff turns around real quick. And Stephon Diggs is there too, so there's a volume issue.
It is the volume issue. Even if they do want to go ahead and just keep rolling with the balance, which I think they will, and I think that Mike
They'll try to.
Seen the error of his ways there. Nevertheless, even in a balanced offense, you still trust the volume with Adams much more than you would with Thielen in Minnesota.
Thank you, guys. Look, there isn't a ton of hope for the Jets right now. And even though there were some trade rumors surrounding wide receiver Robbie Anderson, he is staying put. It's been a rough season for Anderson individually, posting just under 45 receiving yards per game. But he gets the cure today in Miami. So the question is, will he go over or under 74.5 receiving yards? Andy, you're up.
Well, 6 different receivers have already hit this number against Miami. And yes, I think Robbie Anderson is going to become the 7th. We might see an 8th in this game as well. Just a great matchup. Miami allowing 8.9 yards per pass attempt. That's the 2nd most in the league. They've also given up 18 touchdown passes. That's the 3rd most in the league. It's just a spectacular matchup for Anderson. He can do this on 2 catches. Yes, absolutely goes over.
Brad?
I concur. I'm definitely taking the over here. Just get down to the nitty-gritty on some of the DB matchups Anderson could face today. Ken Webster giving up a 101.2 passer rating, 1.22 yards per snap. Ryan Lewis, 126.2 passer rating, and 2 flat in terms of yards per snap. That ADOT that Matt Harmon just threw out. Robbie Anderson, number 2 right now in that category. You look at Miami, too. Also top 3 in terms of ADOT allowed to wide receivers so far this season. I mean, this is a blow-up spot if I've ever seen one. Robbie Anderson, Sam Darnold and company, get right, way over.
Liz?
On paper, Brad is right. This is a blow-up spot, but I guarantee that Robbie Anderson is going to blow up your roster. Sure, we almost saw him catch a 90-yard touchdown last week. That's true. No, there is no Xavier Howard, the Dolphins' top cornerback in this one. Yes, the Dolphins are, even with Xavier Howard, giving up 13.4 yards per reception. However, Demaryius Thomas, as Matt mentioned earlier, is part of this receiving core, and he has averaged over 6 targets per week since Darnold returned from his City Boy summer flu. Also, we got to mention the fact that Le'Veon Bell's been complaining a little bit, and the Dolphins can be run on, so why wouldn't this be a squeaky wheel, get-right situation for the running game, especially after Adam Gase, in his awesomely subtle way, floated that Le'Veon Bell might be traded. Robbie Anderson was on the trade block too, but I don't think they care about him. They can't, not when they have so much money invested in Bell. I think this is a huge spot for Bell, and it is hard to trust the Jets passing game on a week-to-week basis, especially knowing, I think Chris Herndon's going to be back in this one too. There's volume issues, and we know that Adam Gase is going to want to funnel this whole stinking offense through Jamison Crowder, because that is what he do. I'm not trusting any of it. Under.
All right, thank you very much. We've talked a lot about the Sunday night game so far today, but now let's find out what Matt and Liz just don't care about in the Patriots-Ravens showdown this evening. Guys?
You know what I don't personally care about? I don't care about the Ravens passing stats without Hollywood Brown, because I think that he is just such a difference maker. Like, when you look at him out of the lineup versus him in the lineup, it's such a huge boost for Lamar Jackson. And we've talked about it a lot, right? Like, I think that with him scrambling around because of the man coverage he's going to face, that gives a lot of time for Hollywood to get loose on that coverage. I still like him a lot in this game if he's out
Even
there.
on a limited snap count?
Even on a limited snap count. We know what he can do on a limited snap count. That's how he was introduced to us at the NFL level. So I don't care about this passing game and what you think it might look like if Hollywood Brown is not there, because he's that big of a difference-making presence to me. And we're talking about, oh, these are Jackson's passing stats the last month or whatever. It's all just, he's just running around again. Give me a break. Once he gets his top receiver back there, I think fireworks for both of them in this game.
So you don't care about the passing game in Baltimore necessarily. I don't care about these dang receivers in New England. Julian Edelman, we know what he does. Phillip Dorsett, who cares? Mohamed Sanu, cool, he manned the slot a lot, and they kicked Edelman outside. Fantastic. Jacoby Myers, he remains like the most interesting. What I do care about, though, are the cornerbacks in Baltimore, because Jimmy Smith is back for the first time this season. Marlon Humphreys has been awesome. And now we've got Marcus Peters, obviously, also. Like, can he behave? We shall see. But I think Bill Belichick is going to want to go and score early to force Lamar Jackson to have to chase via the pass. But I don't think he's going to be able to do that when we look at the cornerbacks in the secondary that Baltimore has. Jimmy Smith is a huge boost, as was the addition of Marcus Peters. So I think this is going to be a lot tighter of a game than people are anticipating.
I mean, frankly, we'll be honest with you. There's a lot of snooze fests on this Week 9 slate.
Oh, the morning, Lord.
We'll be more focused on what we're getting for lunch, that's for sure.
Wings.
But I got to tell you, this game I'm really looking forward to. I know that Bill Belichick has been just greatly anticipating the idea of, like, I'm going to be the one that figures out how to slow down this Ravens offense and Lamar Jackson. He's relishing the challenge, but I think that Lamar Jackson is up to that challenge.
This is his, own personal escape room, I think.
No doubt about it.
For sure. So we will see. But as far as the Patriots wide receivers are concerned, there's a real matchup this week.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Something we always care about is helping out our viewers. And that's why Andy and Tank have made their way over to the touchscreen for some Make Your Pick social questions, guys.
Yeah, we have. We're going to start with a tough question here. This is a half PPR league. Tristan needs just one of three pretty spectacular options. We've got Derrick Henry against the Panthers. This is kind of a blow-up spot for him. I'd almost guarantee a touchdown there. Jalen Samuels, who's going to get 1 million touches in this one, right?
And a pass game. Half-point PPR.
That's just the thing for me. Doesn't matter which way this game goes. Jalen Samuels is going to be heavily involved, so we've got a very high floor there.
So you touch on that. Oh, my bad. I don't mean to pick that. I just said touch on that.
It's too late. We got to play him. Allen Robinson,
I mean, it's
obviously
not a bad match.
No, it's not a bad matchup at all, and he is the one guy who's sort of survived this Mitch Trubisky disaster, right? He's still catching a touchdown about every week for the last 3 weeks.
But for y'all watching, we're really going with Jalen Samuels.
I'm going with Jalen Samuels.
Swimsuit rally.
Okay, we need 2 here. It's a full PPR. The options are not quite as strong as the last question.
Yeah.
These 2 are a dice roll for me. I'm definitely going Ingram. Absolutely going Ingram, even though it's a difficult matchup.
We saw what Nick Chubb did against that defense last week.
Exactly right. The Patriots giving up about 4.5 yards per carry on the season. There's damage to be done there, and I'm going to go with Jamal as well.
That's cousin.
Half cousin.
He
still has cousin status.
Cousin. Because Aaron Jones is that dude, so he half cousin.
Well, if he scores a touchdown this week, he's a full cousin.
Yeah, there we go.
Last one, we're going to take 2 flexes. Again, a full PPR.
Full PPR.
Well, this is sick. This is ridiculous. I wish I had one lineup that was like this. Mike Evans has to go in a game where we could see the total in this game.
My cousin.
It could be crazy.
That's right.
Fully claimed as Brad's
Yes,
cousin.
100%.
And then it's down to Derrick Henry and Kenny Golladay. For me, this is Henry.
Ooh.
I really...
Full point PPR?
Even in a full point PPR, I think he's got just such a great chance at finding the end zone once or twice.
I mean, but sometimes Tanny could be a little Trubisky-like.
It's true. I also hate to sit Kenny Golladay. I got no bad options.
But you never
here,
know if it's going to be Golladay or if it's going to be Marvin Jones catching 3-4 tubs.
Who are you going with?
We go to safe play.
Yeah, there it is.
Even though it's going to be Bizarro week. We already seen that. We seen it.
Winner.
All right, thank you guys. One last break for us. Don't go anywhere. We'll get plenty more roster questions next. Holla! Welcome back to Fantasy Football Live.
Welcome back,
we are back, Tank.
The orange blossom is here.
Oh, hey,
Welcome to the show. Let's get into our final quick slant of the show. The Indianapolis Colts are in Pittsburgh to face the Steelers today. Now, Pittsburgh is coming off a Monday Night Football win over the Dolphins. And for the Colts, quarterback Jacoby Brissett has been playing well, and I imagine we'll see a lot of Marlin Mack today. So what are we looking forward to in this one?
Yeah, this is an interesting game because the Steelers have really gotten right defensively here of late. I mean, they've really clamped down in terms of the run. They've clamped down in terms of the pass. I think Marlon Mack is going to struggle in this particular contest. You know, as a gambling man, I would take the under on, say, 80 rushing yards in this particular game. But Zach Pascal, Barons, or is it going to be Chester Rogers? Or, as Liz mentioned, is it going to be Jack Doyle? Who is going to rise the occasion with T.Y. Hilton out of the mix?
Well, first of all, the correct answer here could very well be no one rises to the occasion with T.Y. Hilton out of the mix. I mean, like, that's a player of such quality that it's not like those numbers just go somewhere. I am not going to go with catch and fall specialist Jack Doyle. That is not my guy.
I'm definitely not going that direction either.
I think there's a good chance that Eric Ebron catches a touchdown in this one. You're not going to get me to hype Pascal. I just can't do it. Paris Campbell has come back, I think, down the line. He's going to be a factor. This could be like 2 or 3 weeks without T.Y. Hilton, too. That's a dreadful scenario for the Colts.
Tank, give me a fearless forecast on Jalen Samuels again for everybody out there.
Swimsuit rally.
That's it. That's
I need numbers. I need some quantifiable. That's not quantifiable,
Listen, you put
man.
it all in the model, and sometimes the model spits out.
I'll say he gets 18 carries in the run game, probably about 8 targets in the pass game, 5 to 6 catches.
So, like, 100 combined yards and a touchdown?
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I had forecasted 98 combined and a TD for Connor.
I like
so I'm going to go that direction. And I disagree with Loza and Harmon's perspective on Deante Johnson. I think he's got a great shot of finding the end zone again. It seems to be in a nice little rhythm of Mason Rudolph, and that secondary of Indianapolis is forgiving.
Yep.
All right, well, speaking of Loza and Harmon, let's check our social channels one last time. Hey, guys, what's going on?
Sunnyvale firing shots between catch and fall specialist Dad Jack Doyle and
I don't even remember what I said.
I know.
I don't even know what I said about Deontay Johnson. Brad, I'm just shooting from the hip here. None of this really counts, right? We're not keeping score.
No, it counts. It counts. You guys, okay.
It doesn't count for me.
There was a line. Harmon crossed it. Let's answer your tweet now. I'm going to take this one.
Oh, good.
Sutton, so Cortland Sutton, Golden Tate, or Hollywood Brown. This is from Uncle Martian. It's a 0.5 PPR league. Matt, since you have so much love for Hollywood Brown, even on a limited snap count, assuming that this one counts, what is your answer?
Well, I mean, nothing really counts, but, like, I know Golden Tate's the safe play here. Now that Sterling Shepard's out, you can really allocate a lot of volume there. But let's go with Hollywood Brown. I know it's a tough matchup. Stephon Gilmore, blah, blah, blah. I'm going Hollywood Brown here. Uncle Martian and I are flying to outer space, and we're flying with Hollywood Brown
somewhere.
deep down in the in the Patriots secondary there.
Ooh, sure. Yeah, I'm gonna say Golden Tate, but cool. I'm staying right here on Earth. Got my my smoky quartz crystals because Mercury is clearly in retrograde. Go ahead. You had something to do in the chat, the gatekeeper of the chat.
Yes, we have chat questions to answer as well. And look, people were a little upset about the Amendola hate that we threw out earlier. We're not going to throw out Amendola against the Raiders secondary. Well, how about this? Would you play Mohamed Sanu over Danny Amendola?
Oh
Yeah,
my
that
God.
question at the flex from Thoughts from Mr. W on Twitter.
No, I am gonna play Danny Amendola over Mohamed Sanu.
Yeah, I mean Mohamed Sanu, it's like basically the same thing, just like a low average depth of target slot receiver in a pointless role. I'm gonna go with the pointless role from a guy who's been on the team longer.
In the better matchup.
Amendola and the better matchup. Yes. All right, how about this one? Frank Torres 076 said, should I trade Latavius Murray for Jalen Samuels? No, probably not.
No, don't do that.
No, you shouldn't do that because here's the deal. If anything ever happens to Alvin Kamara again, you've got a league-winning type of player in Latavius Murray. Also, I think his role should be better with Drew Brees now back.
Yeah, also, Benny Snell's going to get right. You always know it's the Snell nug coming at you.
Oh, my God. On that note, please, I'm done.
Thank you, guys. We are going to hit up our phone lines one last time. First, we have our good buddy Dave from Wisconsin on the line. Good morning. What's your question?
Hey, good morning. I have a quarterback question. Daniel Jones, Matt Moore, or Mason Rudolph?
Woo! Oh. Daniel Jones, Matt Moore, or Mason Rudolph, guys. Wow. I'm going to maximize the matchup. The best matchup out of all these guys for me is Mason Rudolph, the Pittsburgh Steelers, going against the Colts.
I mean, what's the ceiling for Mason Rudolph in any given week?
Probably 250 and a couple of touchdowns.
Yeah. Part of me wants to just say put off the pain of this one and go with the Monday night option and Daniel Jones. But that's not
That'd
really
be my second
matchup based. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna go Mason Rudolph as well. I really like what he's got with Deante Johnson. There is a possibility there that he throws for a couple touchdowns, maybe 240, something like that.
I mean, we've seen guys get busy on that Vikings secondary, and Matt Moore has all the weapons. You still have the Cheetah, you still have Travis Kelce, you still have Hartman, you have Robinson, all these guys. So I actually have to play Matt Moore in the season-long lineup. So Matt Moore, baby, we about to ride that thing like Seabiscuit.
Whoa, kitty up.
Yep.
All right, next up we have Saeed in Houston. Good morning. How can we help?
Good morning. I have a question about the tight end position. I have Cooper on bye, so I don't really have that many options since my league is pretty competitive. I know Herndon is playing, but I'm kind of nervous that since he's coming back, I'm not sure if he's going to play. I also have Jack Doyle. I was hearing your feedback on him, so I'm kind of shaky now. And there's also Griffin on the waivers. There's Kyle Rudolph. I don't know who to go with.
I actually go to waivers, and my top choice would be Ryan Griffin. Yep. So all the reports are coming out of New York right now is that, Herndon's going to be active, but may not even play a single snap, which is confusing as all hell. Is this going to be a Kenyon Drake situation of, we may sprinkle him in here, then he goes off for 100 yards and a touchdown? I mean, I guess it's within the range of outcomes, as Matt Harmon like to say. But for me, I think Griffin's still going to dominate the target share at the tight end position in a premium matchup against Miami. That's my choice.
I like that call. I may have been perhaps I was too critical of Jack Doyle. He is still going to catch those passes before he falls down. I don't think he's a yards after the catch guy. But can he catch 5 or 6 balls in this one? Sure. If it's a PPR, I'd probably go with that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for calling in. We always appreciate you. Now, let's get our final thoughts. We talked about a lot on this show today. What did we miss? What are we most looking forward to today? We'll start with Liz and Matt. Hey, guys.
Well, Liz, honestly, this has been such a fun show, and it's not going to be that fun of an early game slate. But, my final thought is that I'm so excited to spend the rest of the day watching football with you.
I was going to watch it in the Bays, but cool.
Well, nevertheless, I guess I'm looking forward to our halftime shows, though. We'll have all of the thoughts, all of the takes on what's going on. We're going to be streaming at Yahoo Fantasy on Twitter. Hop in the chat, and hey, we need to know, where's your boy Scott going to send this picture?
Yes, Scott. I mean, I've been waiting for the picture. Why don't you send it to Matt, at MattHarmon_BYB. He is the gatekeeper of the chat. You can do that. And then at the halftime show, we'll see what you're working with.
I mean, her Twitter name is @LizLoza_FM. You can find her on Instagram, too.
Can I just say what I'm interested in from an NFL standpoint? And we will talk about this as we're watching the games together, like teammates. I'm sitting OBJ. That's right. Chris Harris is a stud. OBJ can't get it together. I'm with Brad, the matchup advocate on this one. Ceiling schmealing ain't a thing.
All right. Like it. Thanks, guys. We didn't really get to talk much about the Kansas City Vikings game. I know Dave in Wisconsin brought that up, so I appreciate that. Do we care about what Matt Moore could do?
I'm actually curious to see how much work Alexander Madison's going to get in this game, because if you're looking for somebody that's flexy sexy here in the 11th hour, he's somebody worth plugging in, knowing that Kansas City has had a ton of inadequacies defending the run, 4.9 yards per carry allowed. So that could be 60 yards in a TD.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what the backfield split is between Eckler and Gordon today. Obviously, the Ken Wisenhunt firing, is that good for Eckler? Is anything? I have no idea.
We don't know.
I have no read on that, but man, I hope Eckler gets going.
This seems like the upside down, so I'm just ready for a whole bunch of strange things for a piece of change to happen, which will probably be the Ravens beating the Pats.
Yes, sir! Load them up, baby!
That's a big one. We'll see if that happens. That's going to do it for this edition of Fantasy Football Live. Be sure to come back every Sunday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, right here on Yahoo Sports. Have a great rest of your day, and good luck in your fantasy league.
Ravens!
What a nightmare bird that is.
Yeah, what even is that?
I don't know.